Go.
All right, let's have this conversation, but we got to hit some stuff up first, though.
Oh yeah, we do. We do.
It's
Good evening.
fun.
Good afternoon, folks. Welcome to the Run and Gun Podcast.
Good night, good evening, good afternoon, wherever time zone you're in.
Good morning if you're watching this in the morning. But yeah, I'm JPeeps.
I'm Ace.
That's Ace.
I just did that.
Well, Lord have mercy. But we actually just had a really interesting conversation before we came on here. There is an HBC quarterback out there that was taken in a mock draft by the Saints. You'll know who it is when we get into this show tonight.
Either.
It's pretty interesting. He's torn right now at the moment about if that pick should be the pick, but we'll see. A couple other interesting things, Brian Flores lands in the Steel City.
Steel City.
I like it.
That's a steal of a hire, but I want to see how Minka works with him. We'll talk about that later.
Oh, I'm excited for that. What else we got? A couple guys made some money at the HBC Legacy Bowl this week. Oh my goodness, we got so much stuff. Oh yeah, NASCAR here in Volusia County, Daytona 500 was pretty interesting. I liked it a lot.
I liked how one guy went from the Daytona 500 up to Cleveland in the same day on a private jet.
Hey, look, when you are the greatest of all time, you can do things like that.
Mm-hmm. You can just live your life.
This is see, Ace. This is why I push you so hard.
Push me to what?
This is why I push you so hard. America doesn't see it behind the scenes, but this is why I push you so hard. I want you to do this at 8 o'clock and be on a private jet to Puerto Rico by 10 o'clock. But anyway,
an episode.
It's gonna be a fun episode. Let's
like, share, subscribe, be a friend, tell a friend. Last gift coming back on the 22nd of next month.
Yes.
Leave a comment if you're on Twitter. Head over to YouTube to do the comments because we answer the questions.
Absolutely. Always. But without further ado, let's get right into it. Hey, what's going on, guys? This is JP.
This is the Bug.
This is JC.
This is Flores.
This is Jimi Hendrix.
And you're listening to
And you're listening to
the Run and Gun Podcast.
Awesome. So let's get right into it. So, the HBC Legacy Bowl was this weekend and everything. Our boy Savion Williams, friend of the show and everything, participated in everything. Team Gaither, of course, beats Team Robinson convincingly. And the interesting thing was, and I think this again proved the might of the MEAC against the speed of the SWAC. Power beats speed once again. Because it was like I said, it was a combination of the MEAC and the CIAA against the SIAC and the SWAC, and MEAC won, of course. But definitely Antoine Collier and Jeremy Hickenbottom definitely impressed the most. They both got the MVPs. I think both made some money.
You want me to start?
Oh, I was wanted you to say something.
Oh, I didn't know if you were gonna keep going. That's why I was just like, okay, but yeah. Antoine Collier, I thought did good. He probably gonna give himself a nice little check on draft day, or one of the days during the weekend, probably. Mm-hmm. With that, I think he had almost 10 tackles. I want to say, or something like that. He played crazy. There was another family guy who played well. Derek Mayweather.
Yes,
I'm not mistaken. Yes. He did good. Savion was pretty quiet for the most part. He had 2 hurries. I think I saw. He had a couple of hurries.
Him a lot.
Yeah,
watched him late in that game. They were holding him a lot too. So I was like, That
Yeah,
kind
but
of
I won't put too much into that for him though. I think he's
yeah,
pretty
no.
set for draft day. He's
I
gonna
mean,
get paid. The
that's
well, yeah, with the MEAC thing. I mean, we talked about this. I think one of the first few weeks when I was on the show back in I want to say September, and we were talking about the power beating speed, and it's like same thing in the NFL most of the time. Unless you
mhm,
like power is gonna beat speed,
all the
and
time. All
and so like you're not too surprised by this outcome if you get what I'm saying, because
the,
you can see it kind of coming, but you're just rooting for the players at this point because it's kind of like a all-star game for the HBCU
oh
for
yeah,
them to put their talents out on for the NFL. So I mean, it's like you're not putting too much stock into it, like per se, like a rivalry between the like the four conferences, but it's um it's just putting into the standards, just played into the standards of the power versus speed.
oh yeah, absolutely. The other one that surprised me was Jeremy Hickenbottom, or Jeremy Hickbottom, not Hickenbottom, Hickbottom. He impressed a lot. He's basically he's cast out from Grambling, turns down Bethune-Cookman, goes to Tennessee State, and now he's here. He earns himself. He literally worked his way up, and he impressed. He showed Grambling they made a mistake by casting him out because Grambling could have sure used him this season, obviously, but he balled out. He earned himself at least a camp invite if he does not get drafted.
Oh yeah, I think he'll get one of those. Not even a training camp. It could be like one of those. Like they have like the undrafted signees or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the
Mm-hmm.
first couple weeks after the draft, it could be
Yeah.
either one of those. I could see probably, but I think this game I don't think is gonna speak too much for Akil Glass because he had a couple of external factors on his performance because I'm looking at it right now. I think he won 4 for 15. I want to say 4 for 15, 51 yards. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that one you can see is kind of not just him, but he's also like the receivers were dropping a lot too. So it's like, so you
Yes,
can't exactly put that on him.
that is something I would say is something that people need to also take into consideration with this is the fact that when you look at these games like this, you have to be mindful. A lot of these guys did not go to the postseason. A lot of these guys didn't go to their respective playoffs. A lot of these guys didn't play in bowl games. So you're basically picking up and putting pads back on for a week after not putting pads on since the week of Thanksgiving or the week before Thanksgiving. So I mean that's a long layoff for those that know this game and that have played this game and have been around this game long enough to know. So it is definitely something to take into consideration. And the other thing too is also when you have players from all these different programs and stuff, it's easy
No
to
chemistry.
say again.
There's no chemistry between quarterbacks and wide receivers too.
Exactly. There's no chemistry. You're trying to figure out, okay, how do I time out this slant and throw it to a guy that I've never thrown a pass to a day in my life. You're trying to time out a read and everything for guys that you have not worked around with. So I mean, there are factors there. So I think honestly, for a lot of these guys, it was just really learning about how do they prepare for these types of moments. How do you approach these type of moments? How do you perform in the interviews and everything? And it's basically going to be the same thing come combine time and getting ready to get selected for the draft or even get the call for as an undrafted free agent. So that'll be something to take into consideration.
Yep. I mean, there was a couple of FAMU guys who got drafted even into the USFL thing last night.
Yes.
I saw. So
next thing.
This is a question I think you're going to see a lot of because, I mean, yeah, they're going to take it over. I saw I think there was almost 10 guys who got drafted last night alone from HBCU schools.
I know for a fact Calvin Ashley, Auburn transfer, FAMU grad, he used to be with the Bucks.
Yeah, I remember we talked about him a couple times.
Yeah, he left training camp for his own reasons, and now he's with the New Jersey Generals. And so good for him, man. Go make a name for yourself. And for the USFL, this is their second time around. Hopefully it works. even the XFL too is going to be another potential landing spot for a lot of these guys. Not even just the USFL. So I mean, any chance that you have to play at that professional level, it's an added bonus. So I mean, I think that even if the NFL is not available to them, they can make a name for themselves in the USFL and in the XFL.
Yeah, I think so. There was a talks. I think it was like they're not doing like a developmental league for the NFL with the XFL, but it's gonna be some kind of partnership or something.
Yes.
So I mean, if you get a couple HBCU guys in there, they could. It's like could be like a feeder program almost, and you can see more HBCU guys in the NFL.
It's like it's basically like how guys have the NFL has a set limit on practice squad players.
Yeah.
So this is basically like an extension of the practice squad where, and honestly, the smart coaches will look at every crevice and every bit of film. That every scout will look at it. That's what this will be. This will be like that extra added film you can put on. And then who knows, if you ball out in the spring, you might get a call to come up to training camp and run down on kickoffs or earn yourself some snaps come preseason in August.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, look at Donald Parham. He balled out in the XFL and he got a contract with the Chargers. Unfortunately, he had a bad injury, I want to say, this season, but the last 2 years he's been doing pretty good with them. He was getting a lot of snaps and whatever. So I was like, there's guys, if you ball out in these little league, I don't want to say like little leagues, but you know what I'm saying, like the lower tier professional leagues, they could come up and they can make names for themselves in the NFL.
Absolutely. And also too, the other thing that was interesting this past weekend was NBA TV showed HBCU basketball, Howard and I believe it was Morgan State. MLB Network televised a plethora of HBCU baseball games. And then, of course, NFL Network showed the Legacy Bowl this past weekend. HBCUs did that dang thing. They did it this weekend. This was a huge weekend. And so many eyes were, if you didn't have NBA TV or MLB Network like me, you were watching NFL Network. And there's some other people that were probably flipping back and forth between all three networks and stuff. It was a huge weekend.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I think that FAMU on NBA TV a couple of weeks ago.
And they were playing against Texas Southern on NBA TV. Didn't get the win, but got the recognition.
Mm-hmm. And they were on a crazy win streak while they were at it. They won.
Yeah.
Was it before or after they had the win streak? But I remember they were on it, right?
They were on it, and then they lost on NBA TV. It was 7-8.
Yeah, but they made their name shown.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, dude, that's huge.
They're the only school with LeBron James as the sponsor.
Exactly, and and Bronny might be heading to FAMU too. So who knows? You never know. But I will say too, speaking of FAMU basketball, they took down Alabama State last week in the pit in overtime, and Alabama State's coach literally tried to do what Juwan Howard. Yeah, he almost had a Juwan Howard incident in the pit. And see, here's what I'm gonna say. Get ready, this might be a run. You have a new kid on the block in FAMU that a lot of people in the SWAC did not want to come into this conference and start all of a sudden kicking everybody's ass. And now they've done that. They've come into this conference. They've been winning and having success and been consistent for the most part. Basketball's been looking good lately. Football looked great. Actually, FAMU basketball beat Alabama State. The men's team beat Alabama State in Montgomery, and they beat them in Tallahassee. So they got the season sweep. And so, people don't like that on the outside looking in. And it's kind of a repeat of what you saw on homecoming against Grambling. That's the funny thing about this is y'all see, look, you wanted FAMU to come into this conference and lay down, and you wanted them to take their lumps. All of a sudden now you've gotten hit in the mouth and you've gotten your ass kicked, and now you guys want to cry and complain and everything like that. Look, don't underestimate your opponent is what I'm going to say to these other SWAC schools. And FAMU's going to be here for a while. The athletics department is in a very good position. This is not going to be like a Texas A&M or Missouri situation when those two first came to the SEC.
I mean, one thing before we continue is you forgot to switch the background picture.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. I
just noticed it. And I was like, wait.
I was so into the moment.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I'm just teasing you. Yeah, but I think this is their first year with FAMU in basketball in the SWAC too, right? I know the football just won in this year, or well, technically 2021, but you get what I mean.
Yeah,
It's the first season there, and these guys are like, oh, this is the new kid on the block kind of thing, that kind of vibes.
Yeah,
they're not taking them serious until they get punched in the mouth. They're like, oh crap,
exactly.
We got another guy coming in.
Exactly. And see, here's the thing is, people always say fights are bad for the sport and everything. Fights are bad for this and that. But look, and we're going to switch topics to the NFL after this. Things like this sometimes have to happen. I said this after the fight.
Earn your respect.
Exactly. Sometimes things like this have to happen. And in order for there to be a changing of the guard, that's things like this happen. You don't believe me? Look at Miami and Notre Dame in the 80s. How many fights those teams used to always get into back in the day? Miami literally hanging 50 on Notre Dame in one of their coach's final years back in 1985. And then from there, a rivalry is born. And you got countless situations like that. Sometimes things like this just have to happen. I hate to be that person, say that and promote violence, but sometimes, heck, things like this have to happen.
I mean, people weren't saying that when MJ was getting in fights with the bad boy Pistons until he got his respect after winning through that, and that's why the thing we're gonna talk about this in hot topics. But I mean, if you want to switch over to the NFL, because this is gonna have something to do with HBCU still, but you're talking about earning your respect. I'm just saying is like when you watch the NBA 75 thing, if you watch them closely, them legends were like the older ones, like the Magics and the Kareems and the Bill. Well, I think Bill Russell was there, but I'm not sure. But a bunch of the old heads, I want to say, they looked and treated MJ different than they treated LeBron, and they know he earned his respect when he had to go through those Pistons.
I'm going to share my thought on that in Hot Topics. But that was a good transition point for us with the NFL. So with this, I'm just going to say, look, I'm happy for Brian Flores. He got the out of Miami, and now he's in Pittsburgh where he's going to thrive. Defensive assistant linebackers coach.
I want to see him with Minka back again. Remember Minka got traded from Miami? Them two was in Miami together. I think it didn't go too well for both of them. I don't know if they had like a beef or whatever, but I want to see how it works out. Minka's supposed to get paid soon.
I feel like it was just the matter of the situation that they both were in at the time. I think.
Oh yeah, Miami was gutting their team too. So
exactly, I think Minka.
I think it'll be all good though. They're gonna be professionals. But as to this question, I think he better be in play because you can't go into next season with Mason Rudolph.
Oh yeah, no, you can't. And then I mean, who do you go? I think the best option is
outside of Deshaun is Jameis is the most realistic.
Yeah, as far as free agents go, it's definitely Jameis or Deshaun Watson.
Aaron Rodgers doesn't look like he's getting traded.
I can't.
That would be with Russ.
I can't see Aaron Rodgers even.
And I don't think Russ is getting traded either at this point.
I don't see Aaron Rodgers playing quarterback for a franchise like.
You don't think I'm pulling a Manning?
No.
Or him going to Pittsburgh?
I don't see him going to Pittsburgh. I could see him in Denver before I see him in Pittsburgh. I feel like he's not the one to, get them. I don't know. Here recently, I just don't trust Aaron Rodgers in the AFC Championship against a stout defense.
Well, the AFC defenses aren't that.
They're not. They're not. But it's
the NFC defenses are better than the AFC's.
They are, and
most likely you'll see the Chiefs defense in the AFC Championship. That's
true, but do you honestly trust Aaron Rodgers to lead Pittsburgh or Denver into the kingdom and beat the Chiefs?
No.
Even
But-
like meet him into Buffalo.
Buffalo's probably your best defense in that conference anyway.
Yeah, so I mean,
Because the Patriots are about to let the top corner and picks for the last 2 seasons walk, which doesn't make sense at all.
oh yeah,
But Deshaun Watson, I think his reputation took a big hit after this nonsense that happened the last year and a half, I want to say.
yeah,
But if there's a franchise that can withstand that, it's the Steelers, because we saw what happened with Ben in 2012 and all
Yeah.
his miscomings. I'm going to leave it at that. In his early parts of his career. So I mean, if there's anybody who's gonna a team that's gonna be able to withstand the Deshaun Watson pressure or whatever, because if he gets traded and he doesn't face any like criminal issues, which I seriously doubt at this point because you haven't heard anything about it, he's gonna play next season like for week 1 because he already served his suspension essentially. The NFL, they pretty much kind of said it. They suspended him last year essentially, so they're not gonna suspend him again. So I mean, Pittsburgh already dealt with Roethlisberger. I think they could deal with Deshaun and him. I mean, Flores is the reason why Flores isn't in Miami partially is because he wanted Watson over Tua. And if you go to Pittsburgh, I mean, you got the defense already. All you need is offensive line, which to be fair is probably worse than Houston's was with Deshaun Watson the last couple of years. But still, I mean, you got Johnson. You're gonna have Claypool, who's been in trade rumors the last couple of weeks, but. You got some money in free agency. There's a bunch of wide receivers in free agency available.
Yeah.
We could talk about later. But yeah, I mean, Deshaun in Pittsburgh is going to make too much sense because Pittsburgh, there was something about this the other day, but I mean, when was the last time Pittsburgh was rebuilding is the question I'm going to ask.
Honestly, I cannot tell you.
Was drafted is the earliest I think they picked in the last couple of years, like
I
last 2 years.
Dude, I don't think in my lifetime, I don't think Pittsburgh has ever picked in the top 10.
In my lifetime, they definitely haven't.
Yeah, see, so I mean, because look, when I was a kid, or not even not a kid. Let me slow that down. When I was little, Cordell Stewart was the quarterback, and they had just come off of being in Super Bowl 30 against the Cowboys.
So that was 26 years ago.
Yes. Jeez, man. What are you talking about?
Next week. Sorry. I got you.
Just go ahead and tell America my age. Golly. But
you're not a woman. You're good.
Anyway.
Anywho, let's move on.
Anyway, but yeah, I mean it's been a while since Pittsburgh was really like desperate. Honestly, I was shocked and surprised I saw the day Baltimore was desperate and not an expansion team picking in the top 10 in the draft. So I'm not even as bad as Pittsburgh's been, I'm not expecting them to be very needy. I could see Pittsburgh going offensive line with the first couple picks in the draft.
I am gonna look up and see when's the last time Pittsburgh picked in the like top whatever. Let's see.
But while you do that, I also want to hit on this right here. The latest Antonio Brown allegations and why, honestly, I still, for the life of me, can't figure out why so many people just assume, oh, Antonio Brown, he's a victim of the system. Oh, my gosh, we have to feel sorry for him and all this. No. Okay? Well, at least finds that. Let me tell you something.
I already found it.
Oh, what was it? What year was it?
Plaxico Burress in 2000 was the 8th pick.
The 8th pick? I feel like they traded up for that, honestly.
Let's see.
Because what was their record in 99?
I gotta look up that now.
Sorry. Well, yeah, while I keep him busy, I'm sorry. I don't mean to do this. But yeah, I mean, look, speaking of Pittsburgh, former Pittsburgh wide receivers, look, Antonio Brown literally posted a picture of his ankle and stuff. And then here's the thing about it. The fact that he was hurt is one thing. The fact that you go out there and say, well, you know what, F Tom Brady, F the Bucs, F Bruce Arians. Bruce Arians is all this and all that and stuff. And then a few weeks later, you come back and say the situation could have been handled differently. And no one scripted you to say that. So for those defending Antonio Brown, don't come back and say, oh, well, someone just told him to say that. No, he said that on his own. So now it's just like, dude, which is it? Which is it? Because 1 minute you're shaming Tom Brady, the next minute you're praising him, and then the next minute you're shaming him again. So now it's kind of like we see through your bipolarness. We see through all this. And for some of y'all to say he doesn't have a mental problem and him to say he doesn't have a mental problem, the first step is admitting it. What do we always say about alcoholics? What's the first step? Admitting it. What do we always say about these certain things like domestic violence and things? What do we always say, Ace?
Admit it. Acknowledge and admit it.
Exactly. So that's the first step. That tells you everything you need to know. How do I know that? Gee, I've never been to rehab before. I know some of y'all probably never have. But think about it. The first step is always admitting it. Open your eyes and realize it, folks. Stop trying to think Antonio Brown's just a victim of the system and stuff. The track record is the writing on the wall. He is what he is. And if the Ravens sign him, they are foolish.
Mm-hmm.
Because honestly, that's a dumb move to begin with. Lamar Jackson can barely hit Hollywood Brown down the seam for a touchdown on a post, on a skinny post. So what makes you think that he's going to find Antonio Brown consistently when his main number one target is Mark Andrews?
I mean, he really never had a number one per se. I mean, Marquise is all right and everything, but he doesn't have like that big possession kind of receiver. Antonio Brown isn't, to be honest. But
sure.
So I mean, Antonio and Baltimore, it's not gonna fit. But I mean, like if you get a solid like big, I mean, I want to see what Rashad Bateman does before I say you need to get Antonio Brown in there. Because I mean, I think Bateman's gonna be that better number one for Lamar than Antonio is gonna be at this point. Antonio is like I don't even want to say it's like a light switch. Sometimes he flips on and he becomes like a cray-cray, and sometimes he just flips off and acts like a normal person. I don't even know.
That's true. I agree. Also, too, did you find out what was Pittsburgh's record in '99?
Yeah, 6-10.
That's not even bad. And that got the 8th pick.
That was the worst they've been, I think. And since the
I feel like they traded up for that at 8. I still feel like they traded up.
I'll look up 2000 draft.
Yeah,
you got me looking up this stuff.
I'm sorry, I'm keeping him busy with the Steelers thing right here. But yeah, man, that's my thing. The other thing too is while he looks that up is the situation with Bruce Arians saying that they may roll with Blaine Gabbert. I feel
no
like
trade.
They didn't trade?
No, it was Plexico Burrs. Just straight up.
Oh, interesting. Plexico and Hines Ward. That's a nice combo. But yeah, this whole thing with Bruce Arians and
Blaine Gabbert.
Yeah, I don't buy it.
And this is the season of how do you want to say smoke screens and lies.
Exactly.
That's what February and early March is.
Because even even Aaron Rodgers has said that he's like done a whole detox and stuff, and he hasn't made his mind up yet. You've made your mind up. Let's
staying
the bush.
Unless someone offers Devontae Adams a giant contract and he walks, Aaron Rodgers is staying in Green Bay.
Exactly. And then
if Devontae's not there, he's gone.
And then what else is there? The assumption that Russell Wilson's coming to Florida because he's training in Florida. There's a lot. The
teams Russell Wilson's going to go to are the cities where CR signs off on.
Oh yeah. Here's the reason why I can see him coming to Tampa is because Jay-Z and Beyonce like it in Tampa, and they like Florida. So I could see her kind of like agreeing with Tampa and saying, you know what, I can hang out with Queen Bee, so let's do it.
Yeah, I think she's fine as long as she's not anywhere where in the future is, as you saw with that Super Bowl thing.
So basically avoiding the entire state of Georgia.
Yeah, pretty much. But we know he's not going to the Falcons.
We know he's not going to Atlanta. If anything, he might look. If he goes to Tampa and he comes to the NFC South, some of the the Falcons' worst games might be against the Bucks. Whether that game is in Tampa or it's in Atlanta. So get ready. But I mean, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. It's like you said.
We talked about two things in the NFL, though. We spent the entire time with the Steelers.
We did. Well, we talked about Antonio Brown and we talked about the Bucks situation.
Well, I mean, Antonio Brown still related to the Steelers, and then we talked about the Bucks.
That's
but
true.
Let's move on to the NCAA.
Yes. So the college football playoff committee, they announced they have no plans to expand the playoff. Look. You know what? Go first. Go ahead, because I've been talking.
No, I'm just putting my thumbs down because I mean we're guaranteed to see two SEC teams in the championship or the playoffs, I should say. It's most likely still going to be the championship. It feels like, unless you have like Clemson rise from the ashes, which I seriously doubt. Because I mean, let's be real. I mean, Ohio State was in the final like last year, and was it last year? The year before.
2 years ago, they were in the championship.
Yeah, 2 seasons ago, they were in the championship, and that didn't end exactly well because Shaun Wade had the bright idea to cover Devontae Smith one-on-one, but we won't get into that.
Shaun Wade, what team does he even play for in the NFL?
Patriots.
Now? Oh, he doesn't play much, obviously.
Nope. Unless that's the reason why they're footing J.C. Jackson, which we didn't even talk about.
Go on.
Yeah, so I mean, we're guaranteed to see it. We know Alabama and Georgia are going to be the top, like, going to be in the top 5. It feels like every year, and then you have the occasional Big 10, Big 12. Well, the Big 12 is going to get gutted in the next couple of years, so I'm not too worried about them.
Make way for
the Pac-12 never does anything of relevancy. I feel like the last couple of years since they went to this format, I feel like the only Pac-12 team to be relevant in the playoff is Oregon, the very first year. I'm probably missing a team or so, but you get the point there.
Right.
I mean, the 12-team playoff, I guess, it would just let more teams in and make it somewhat more exciting. I mean, if you want to give the first 2 teams buys and then just work your way through that, if you really want, and want to have or even go 8 teams, just so we can get some different variety in the playoffs. Because I feel like it's the same teams almost every year.
I feel you, and I know why they did it. I listen to that, and I say this to that. I look at it like this: if you expand the playoff, you have to look at what's going to happen. You have a team on the rise. You got your guaranteed SEC teams, Alabama and Georgia. You got your teams on the rise, like Texas A&M. You never know what LSU is going to bring to the table. And then you got Ole Miss. You got Ole Miss that could win, that could literally drop 2 games and still, if the playoff gets expanded, could get in. So that's potentially 3 SEC teams right there off the bat. So, boom. Those
4 or 5.
Yeah, 4. 3 or 4. You put those 4, honestly, I'll say that. You put Ole Miss or Texas A&M on a good year in the playoff, in an expanded playoff against the Pac-12 champion who gets the automatic bid on a neutral field. Who do you really honestly fully believe?
No.
Exactly.
Like the conversation we had with the MEAC and SWAC thing. I mean, how are you going to beat the speed of the Pac-12?
Exactly.
The power of the SEC will just smack down the speed of the Pac-12.
Exactly. And honestly, the speed of the SEC is far greater than the speed of the Pac-12 too. It's just
that too.
Because I mean, look, I think about it and I look at Utah, for instance, won the Pac-12 this year. Ole Miss, they were the at-large team in the Sugar Bowl for the SEC. They lost to a good Baylor team, but honestly, I firmly believe Utah and Ole Miss on a neutral field, Ole Miss runs Utah off the field, I think. So I mean that's something to consider. In that, I think Baylor would have been good in the playoff if it had been expanded. I think Baylor would have held their own. To be honest, but
here's something interesting. So they said since the college football playoff expanded in 2014, only 2 Pac-12 teams have ever qualified for the college football playoff: Oregon and Washington.
And one of the Oregon ran into a very worn down Florida State team. I think Florida because yeah, I mean honestly, I mean I don't really have to say much about it. Just listen to Freddie Stevenson's story about it, or even go back and read the countless articles about the decline of Florida State football. And then not Utah, but Washington. That game could have been worse than what it was. That game could have been a lot worse, honestly. It could have been 40 to 50 points. But Alabama just didn't – the scheme I think Alabama came with just wasn't – it wasn't meant for a blowout. I think they kind of just tried to save stuff for the next round against Clemson, and they got caught off guard by Clemson. But, I mean, honestly, look, the majority of your teams are going to come from the ACC and the SEC. Maybe one or two are going to come from the Big Ten.
I feel like even if you put a Big Ten team against like who's the best team in the Big 12 now? Think about it.
The best.
Texas never take seriously. Oh yeah, Baylor. I keep forgetting Baylor's in the Big 12. I don't know why. I think they're the ACC for some reason. Don't mind me. But I mean, Baylor's probably the only team I could think of probably next season who can beat a Big Ten team, and that's like because I mean, Oklahoma got gutted this year. Yep. Texas is a crap show. Kansas, we definitely never considered them.
That's a basketball school.
Yeah, let's be real. That is. Hey, they did win a couple games last year. You forgot about that?
That's a basketball school.
I'm being nice to Kansas.
They did beat Texas. They beat Texas.
Yeah. I mean, who are the Big 12 schools? That's the only three I can think of.
Oklahoma, Baylor, Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State was good this year, but then they couldn't get in. They were number 7, I want to say, or number 8.
They were on the. All they had to do was beat Baylor, and they were gonna get in. They would have been in the Sugar Bowl, or no, they would have been in the Orange Bowl for the playoff. All they had to do was just win, and they were. But
so, I mean, none of those teams I could think of are going to beat Ohio State next year. Michigan's coming back. Michigan State was pretty decent this year, and they had a pretty young team. So, I mean, let's be real. Do you think a Big 12 or a Pac-12 team is going to beat against the Big 10? If they can't beat the Big 10, can they beat the SEC?
No.
The only reason I know they didn't expand it this time is because ESPN has the rights to the College Football Championship. ESPN also owns the SEC network. If you have SEC network teams in the playoff, better money for you guys.
Also remember, too, Washington went to the Big House and got beat.
Yeah, there's that, too.
The other thing, too, is I don't know if you saw it this past weekend. Florida upset Bruce Pearl and Auburn.
Oh, yeah, I did see that. Yeah. I saw that. Them Gators fans were going crazy for some reason. Yeah, I still think Auburn's going to run them over if they play back in the tournament. But
oh, yeah, of course. I think Auburn just, it's so hard to run the table in college basketball. And we've seen it countless times. I think Kentucky, a couple of years ago back in the 2010s, Gonzaga, of course. It's so hard to run the table wire to wire like that. So I mean, honestly, I think the loss did more good for Auburn than it did bad. So
it gives them a reality check on like it did for Gonzaga.
Yeah,
I mean, Gonzaga did lose to Baylor early in the season, and then they got steamrolled again by Baylor.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, Auburn will be fine. Auburn's they're gonna be right there. Bruce Pearl got paid all that money for a reason. I wouldn't say the sky's falling.
Yeah, and I think Jabari Smith's going to be the real deal. So we're good.
Exactly.
Did you see that move that dude did? He pulled like how LeBron does that spin around fade shot?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he did that in a game. I'm like, okay, there's not a whole lot of 6'10" big men who could pull that move.
Those big men are evolving.
Well, yeah, I mean, did you see All-Star Weekend? Evan Mobley was just shooting lights out.
I know.
And then Karl Towns won the three-point contest.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's the first since Dirk, I want to say, and Dirk was just ahead of his time.
Oh, yeah, Dirk was way ahead of his time. The other thing, too, that happened this weekend, or this week leading up to this weekend.
Um,
Daniels.
Oh, I was going to talk about Michigan's issue, but we could talk about Jaden Daniels and his issues with Arizona.
Dude, I don't know if you saw that or not.
That got ugly.
Oh my gosh. And Herm Edwards had so much promise for him. But just Jaden.
I don't even know what happened.
He literally cleared out his locker in front of him. By the way, shout out to Elite College Football.
No, not. I know what happened with the locker. I want to know what happened for him to go into the transfer portal to begin with.
That I don't know. That was crazy though. But he's literally. I guess someone probably offered him a better opportunity. But he's literally cleaning out his locker, and his teammates are literally videotaping him while he's cleaning out his locker, and they're just like, "Yo, this man was sorry anyway."
It'd be wild if you go. As they said, what's
sorry
going into it is just in the transfer portal.
Say again.
Have they said what school he's going to, or is it just in the transfer portal?
He's just in the transfer portal, but he's definitely got time. Because
Imagine
the other thing
so
too.
an SEC school and just makes it to the playoff. That'd just be wild.
Dude, that's my thing. Is even if he were to, even if he were to transfer out and still have a better record than he did when he was at Arizona State, you can't really say much as players at Arizona State saying, "Oh, he was sorry anyway." No, it was just I think the system didn't fit him and the people around him were sorry.
Yeah, that's true.
Because honestly, I look at that situation and then I look at what's going on with Spencer Rattler at South Carolina and how the coaches are talking up Spencer Rattler, and now I'm just like, look, Spencer Rattler, you never know. He might go in there. He might lead South Carolina back to, consistently playing in the Outback Bowl and having 10-win seasons and stuff. We'll see.
I mean, his issue wasn't weapons, though. He had a stacked Oklahoma team. He just wasn't mature, I felt like.
He was. I don't think that he could quite get a grasp on the system. I don't think.
Well, there's always that.
There is, and I think that's something that people need to take into consideration is sometimes the system just doesn't fit the guy, and sometimes leaving, going to another system is what helps. Sometimes, not every time.
March Madness starts March 15th. Why does it have to start when spring break starts?
I mean, well, funny thing about it is like you say spring break.
No, we won't have the Last Gift podcast until the week after the upset weekend, the upset days.
Well, fill out your bracket and show it off, and then you can discuss it there.
Yeah, there's that too. Who knows? I'll probably say if you want to get Steve on this show before March Madness. I think he said he knows some stuff about. Then we'll see what he had to say. I don't know.
Because I was definitely gonna say, oh my goodness, what was I gonna say? There's certain teams I'm feeling pretty good about. Certain teams I'm not feeling pretty good about.
I'm curious about Auburn still.
Oh yeah. I'm curious who is going to come out of the MEAC and the SWAC as champions and get into this. And I'm curious.
When does championship weekend start? I think it's this weekend, right? The tournaments for the conferences.
I think so.
I think it's this weekend or next weekend. It's one of these 2 weekends coming up. Is going to be the tournament start. Because I know they're setting everything up. But I mean, this year it's been kind of wild because I don't think a team stayed at number one over 2 weeks. It's been upsets like crazy this season,
and that makes for fun when the tournament gets here.
It's gonna be hard to get a perfect bracket. I don't think anybody's gonna get it this year.
Oh no, but no one ever does.
I know. I mean, there's like that one guy like every couple of years who gets it. It feels like.
I mean, if you want to be funny about it, you could do like they did on the Cleveland show and kind of compare the mascots and say who would win in a fight. And they were like the Clemson Tiger would beat the Texas Longhorn in a fight.
Yeah, probably.
Like, so I mean, that's one way to go about it. So I mean, you think about it like this: you got Auburn and Gonzaga at 1-3. The Tiger would kind of like maim a Bulldog. So I mean, that's just my take of it.
All right, we doing Juwan Howard, or we going to hot topics?
You know what? Let's go to hot topics and mention Jawan Howard. So, folks, all I'm gonna say with this whole Jawan Howard thing is simply
When y'all overreacted,
the overreaction is very
fire.
real.
They said people were gonna fire him. I'm like,
Am I disappointed in the way that he acted? Yes, because, and I'm going to say this: anytime a man of color acts that way and acts out, the white media is going to use it against him and say,
oh yeah,
why is he, this is why he shouldn't have this job, this is why he should still be an assistant or coaching somewhere else but not being a head coach, because if he conducts himself that way, how do you trust him as a parent to send your son to go play for him and stuff and all that crap? That's why I hated it, because I knew that was going to be a narrative that white media was going to try to use.
says that when Popovich gets mad on the sidelines.
Say again?
Pretty sure. I said they ain't get on like this when Popovich screams and I think he shoved a dude one time and he got ejected for it.
Exactly.
I mean, you don't hear nothing about it, but no offense to Pop, but
Exactly.
it's just I'm saying.
And see, that's why I think they did the right thing in just suspending him for a few games. I really didn't think
I
he
think it's the
deserved.
rest of the regular season. It's like a few games, but yeah, it's the rest of the regular season.
Yeah, see, that's not bad. That's really not
No.
bad. And honestly, I'll say this too: Wisconsin, after the Big Ten tournament, they ain't going nowhere, in my opinion. I mean, if we can even, oh well, they're 13th. They might be going somewhere. They might be going dancing. They're 13th ranked in the country. They'll be in the tournament, but I don't think they'll last long. Michigan, however, is not.
Probably like 3 rounds at max.
Yeah, Michigan's not even in it. Wow, Michigan did a lot of damage last year.
Yeah, they did good last year with Franz Wagner, who's doing good with the Magic right now. But that's doing a good thing they got going.
Michigan basketball is in the dumps right now, 14-11. Oh my goodness! But they're winning right now in the second half with 3:20 left. So I mean, it's not all is lost.
All right, let's talk about the fun stuff.
Oh yeah, so I definitely wanted to say this is actually something good. Will we ever see an African American owner in the NFL like we're currently seeing in NASCAR?
Yeah, eventually. I don't know how long.
It's
I
gonna
mean,
be
if Denver's the only team I think up for sale right now, but
Denver's up for sale. The crazy thing is I think the Carolina Panthers were the most expensive last purchase team. I think Jerry Jones bought the Cowboys for like $189 million. I think the Carolina Panthers were last purchased for $329 billion. George Halas, when he bought the Chicago Bears, he bought them for $100.
well, yeah, that was like in the 30s, 40s.
Yeah, 1920s, I believe.
Depression times.
Exactly. Gee, I wish I'd had my credit card and everything back then. I'd have definitely bought the Chicago Bears. I'd have bought the Bucks.
$2.275 billion.
Yeah, so
that's what David Tepper bought the Panthers for, 2.275. So
Ace, when we gonna buy a franchise? Ace, when we gonna buy a franchise?
All right. I'm gonna put in our max out our credit cards.
Exactly. I mean, look, if we put it together, we can definitely do this, and we could just say, look, we're gonna buy this team. Like the city of so and so. We can't guarantee you right now that things are gonna look good, but we can guarantee you in about 5 years, we will be competing for Super Bowls.
Yeah, can I get a small loan of like $1.5 billion?
Oh my gosh, dude! Suncoast Credit Union would probably rip us a new one. They'd probably laugh at us and hang up the phone if we tried that.
I'm gonna say like, hey, I want to buy a football team, and I'm making enough money to pay off this loan in a couple of years.
Exactly. Exactly. Our return on our investment we will be paid gratefully. But back to the question at hand, I do think it's kind of amazing that NASCAR knowing NASCAR and the way NASCAR is,
That is true.
I'm surprised that
I
we
did not
see
say that.
minority owners in NASCAR before we even got minority owners in the NFL. That's something.
Well, it's actually not that big of when you think about it in hindsight. Because I mean, NASCAR was the forefront of American. Like it was baseball, NASCAR, then football, and now it's like football's like at number one or whatever.
Oh
And
yeah,
NASCAR's faded behind in the limelight. But I mean, if NASCAR is like ahead of the in the NFL, like in progression or whatever you want to call it, I mean, it's you can see like NASCAR set stage. Hopefully later on, you can see NFL get one eventually.
yeah. And I'm also happy for Bubba Wallace. Bubba got second place in the Daytona 500, the Great American Race, and he got second place. I am so happy for that.
Doesn't he race for Michael Jordan?
Yes, he does.
So Michael Jordan had a hell of a weekend.
Oh yes, he did. And that's amazing. And then a rookie winning the Daytona 500 on top of that just added more flair to it.
Yeah, to be honest, I haven't paid attention to NASCAR since Jeff Gordon retired.
Dude, you sound like literally everyone that I know. Everyone's like, I turned off NASCAR when Jeff Gordon retired. Everyone says the same exact thing. You sound just like me because I'm just like, look, I was a huge NASCAR person. I used to play the video games and stuff, and then when Jeff Gordon retired, I was just like, but there's nothing left. All those big names from back in like the 2000s and stuff are gone.
Yeah, we used to have a NASCAR. We used to like NASCAR games, movies, and that's how we got into like Forza and stuff like that. And F1. F1 is not too bad, but it's like hard to get it in the time zones, right?
But I will say, I love me some Talladega Nights.
That's true.
I love me some Talladega Nights. Sweet little baby Jesus and your little baby manger. I love you so much.
All right, NBA All-Star Game.
Yes.
The All-Star Game is all right. It's better than the Pro Bowl.
It is. There's something
the only thing they need to fix is the dunk contest.
There's something that can be taken from both, I think. I feel like there should and this is something that baseball does well too with their All-Star Game weekend. Baseball, just like basketball, has a celebrity All-Star Game. The NFL should do a celebrity flag football
game.
At least start from the 40 and go in. You don't have to be, you don't have to be the whole length of the field. But there's a way to do this for the NFL. And then, of course, with basketball, I think so many dunks have just been perfected over time that I think it's kind of played out a little bit.
I just saw something interesting that I was trying to check out. But sorry. Let's see. I agree with that flag football game thing because it's kind of boring watching the Pro Bowl. Nobody cares. I mean the celebrity game for the NBA All-Star Weekend is kind of like
that was like the best part of the weekend.
Yeah, it was.
Dude, I fell asleep on the dunk contest and the actual game.
I didn't even watch the actual game. I had work to do.
I saw Steph Curry go off, but after that,
I just saw the highlight. Not the highlights, but like the Twitter notifications of Steph Curry hitting like 7 or 8 threes in a row, and like 16. Yeah, 16 total. That's like insane. I think I'm saying absurd. Let's be real. It's more absurd than anything.
I agree, and it's just. I was just like, my gosh, dude, they got to do something about this. And then I'm just like, if this is so boring, I wonder how boring the NHL All-Star Game must be. Because I've never seen it. I went to Gasparilla versus watching that.
I forgot that I didn't tweet my We Live tweet for the show.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah. But they need to fix that dunk contest. Like, it hasn't been anywhere near as fun since Aaron Gordon jumped over Taco. And that was the best one in the last couple of years. No offense to Anthony Simon.
See, look, here's the thing. And he got robbed 1 year.
Oh yeah, that year he got robbed. Derrick Jones Jr. should not have won it.
The year that the Magic's mascot was on the little Segway thing and going around in circles holding the ball, and
That was the Levine win. Well, one of the two.
that was the year Aaron Gordon was supposed to win it, because that was nice.
He hit like 3 absurd dunks, even just like the one when he jumped over Tucker. He had 3 absurd ones that he should have wanted there, and they kept giving Derrick Jones Jr. a chance.
I agree. And I think honestly part of that had to do with Dwayne Wade being stingy and not.
Oh yeah, we know that.
Because I think it was either Dwayne Wade or Shaq that kept giving. Everybody kept giving 10s, and one of them kept giving like 9s.
Yeah, Dwayne Wade was the only one giving 9s to Aaron Gordon.
And I was like, geez, just give it to him. Like, golly, like what are you doing?
I'm like, can we just? I was watching it. Was Saturday night? I'm like, bro, just tell Aaron Gordon to get off the couch, just put on some joggers, and just come out and just win this dunk contest, please. None of these guys can finish a dunk.
And I don't know who it was, but whoever that was, I forget the dude, his name, whoever that was trying to dunk in Timberlands.
Oh, Cole Anthony.
Take him out. That was pitiful.
Dude is like a 6'1", 6'2" guard. He ain't even got hops like John Moran. No offense to Cole, but don't do the dunk contest.
The whole Timberlands thing, that was stupid. I'm sorry.
I don't know why people try to do the Timberland dunk contest thing. That's like the third person who's tried it. It doesn't end well. You can't jump in bricks.
Because everybody from that's that New York dude. That's that New York vibe thing. I don't know.
I'm not from New York. I wouldn't know or care.
I agree.
But anyway, yeah, let's wrap it up.
Yeah. Anyway, folks, I mean, look, that's going to do it
for us.
Yeah.
That's all, folks. We're probably going to get copyrighted now.
This was a good show. As always, make sure you like, share, and subscribe and follow.
Be a friend, tell a friend.
Yes, please, please, please. And make sure you follow us on all of our social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Subscribe there. Ace, you got anything?
I mean, you just did everything, I guess. Last is coming back May 22nd, I want to say, or the 23rd. One of those 2 days. I have no idea what the day the Tuesday is, but you guys get the point. Sometime that week after spring break. But next week we'll probably talk free agency stuff or franchise tag stuff. Who knows? We'll probably get some news for the NFL. HBCU is always going to be putting out stuff. Hopefully the conference tournaments are going to start for college basketball. We're going to talk about that. Doing a little preview for next week now. I mean, we've got nothing else to talk about, so I'm just doing a preview for next week.
Yeah, I said preview for next week. Yeah, that's basically it right there. He just said it all. But yeah, folks, good night. We will see you next week. Enjoy.